Dr. Aisling Hillary made her mark on the Irish scene in London and the South East in 2015 when she was chosen as the London Rose for the Rose of Tralee. Now, this gave rise to many highlights which we'll hear about. But crucially, Aisling is working at the Royal London Hospital in Whitechapel and is well placed to discuss the COVID-19 crisis. Aisling is working tremendously hard along with her colleagues. I'm grateful she's taken time out to speak to me. Aisling, lovely to talk to you. How are you?
Hi, Jerry. Great talking to you as well. Thanks a million for having me on. I'm doing very well at the moment, thank you.
Lovely. I'd like to start with a little background on you. You're a Galway-born girl. Your mother Angela from you in Galway and dad from Castleislet in Kerry. I believe you spent time in the Netherlands as a child and kept your Irish heritage alive through Irish dancing and music.
Yes, that's right, indeed. So I'm technically not Galway born, sadly. I was actually born in the Netherlands, but I'm a Galway girl at heart, 100%.
Right.
My mother is indeed from County Galway, and although my dad is a proud Kerry man, he was brought up in Galway, in Kilconnell. So so strong Galway connection there. But no, absolutely right. I was born and raised in the Netherlands until I was about 14 years of age, and we had a very, very strong Irish community there. So we were kind of involved with the Irish Club of the Netherlands, and my sister and I danced with an Irish dancing school. And meanwhile, my mother ran an infamous Irish pub called the Pusheen Still for many years. So we had a brilliant connection with a lot of Irish people there. And my father worked for an Irish construction firm as well. So although we were living in Holland, we were very much amongst the Irish scene in the Netherlands. But it was brilliant, yeah. And sure, like all across the world, the Irish always find each other, don't they?
Don't they just
together?
don't they just? There's not even the trace of a Dutch accent at all. Now, you graduated as a doctor from Brighton and Sussex Medical School in 2010. Among friends you met in Brighton and West Sussex are friends of our show, Ty Galvin and Bridget Whelan of the Brighton Irish Society, also John and Nuri Nolan from the Celtic and Irish Cultural Society in Crawley. They sound like fantastic years in Brighton.
Oh, absolutely fantastic years. You know, I was only just 18 when I left Ireland, so quite a frightening time, leaving family behind and going to a whole new country. Didn't know much about Brighton, to be honest, before heading over there, but was so delighted that I chose it to study medicine. It was quite a new medical school. It was only in its third year when I started there, and I had the most incredible 5 years, and definitely part of that was through meeting a lot of the people that you've already mentioned, and getting involved with the Irish societies in south of England. Another person I have to mention is Carmel Walsh, who myself and her and another friend Molly were in an Irish band called the Celtic Tigers, and we had a lot of fun in Brighton and the surrounding areas playing trad music at a few events, and they all definitely helped me get through those first few years of quite admittedly, I was very homesick the first few years. But when you meet people like that are part of the Irish societies here in the UK, there's just a fantastic support network there. And I have two adoptive parents, John and Annette, who live down in Brighton as well. They're Irish, and they took me under their wing and introduced me to many other Irish people. So it was a great few years, yeah. And there's always, a lot of fond memories from those times, definitely.
Oh, lovely. Now, we'll talk more about your Rose journey, but I'd like to turn to the impact of the COVID-19 crisis. Aisling, what branch of medicine are you currently involved in?
So I'm an A&E doctor in training. I've been a doctor, it'll be 10 years this summer. And I've worked in A&E in Galway, in Australia, and then various A&Es across England as well, and I'm kind of in my final years of training, hoping to become an emergency medicine consultant. I'm subspecialising for a year in paediatric emergency medicine, so children's A&E, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Right.
But yeah, I've had jobs in various parts of medicine, so I know how this is impacting on the different specialties in the hospitals at the moment.
Right, now you posted an extremely helpful video on social media about how challenging times are for those infected and suffering loss. Now, one area you said can't be underestimated is the impact on people's mental health.
Absolutely, Jerry. This is a very difficult time for everyone, and anyone who, feels ashamed to say that they're struggling, I wouldn't feel one bit ashamed. We're all struggling in one way or another. These are unprecedented times. We've never had to cope with anything like this before, and especially anyone who has suffered with their mental health in the past. It's understandable that this current climate is exacerbating anything that you've suffered from before. But even people who've never struggled with mental health issues, with these times, there's a lot of, feelings of anxiety and depression that can actually come to light during this time. And I think it's important to recognise that and to recognise that it's okay to feel like that, and that there's lots of help out there to help get through this, and just not to ignore those feelings, not to dampen them down, and to accept that it is okay if your mental health is not as good as it normally is. So I think it is important that we recognise that. Absolutely.
Indeed. Now, lockdown is especially difficult for those at high risk, undergoing 12 weeks of isolation. There's no doubt it's oppressive, but just so necessary with the way things are.
Absolutely. And I really do feel for anyone who is in that high risk group. I know a few people in that group, and it's, imagine 3 months being told you can't leave your house. But the people who are in this high risk category understand the need for that, because it is, there is a significant risk to their life if they get infected with this illness, and so they understand the need for it. But I can only imagine how difficult it is to be told you have to stay indoors for 12 full weeks. And so I think for anyone who isn't taking the lockdown seriously and who is considering, breaking the lockdown rules, or, because they're healthy, just bear in mind the people who have cancer, the people who have chronic health conditions that have to suffer with all of their life anyway, and now this is just exacerbating the difficulties for them. As you said, it's an oppressive restriction, but it's an absolutely necessary one, because we know that although everyone can be affected by coronavirus, and we've seen it, there's a significant risk to people with the longer term health conditions, and that is the reason for the 12-week restriction.
Right. Now, an important consideration is that Health Secretary Matt Hancock has emphasised that people who feel seriously unwell with symptoms indicating they might be at risk of a stroke or heart attack should not hesitate to seek help. You don't want them to stay away from accident and emergency departments.
Absolutely. I'm so glad, Jerry, that you're bringing this up, because, as an A&E doctor, I implore people that we are still working 24 hours a day in A&E, and we are here to help you. It is our job, and we want to do it because we want to help, and we are genuinely worried that people have been staying at home with some very serious health conditions, because either they don't want to burden the NHS, which is we want to, or they're worried about getting coronavirus. And again, I want to reassure people that there's a lot of measures that have been put in place in hospitals across the UK and Ireland to make sure it is safe to come to hospital. And if you have to come, that's why we're there, and people have been struggling at home with things like heart attacks, strokes, even things like eye problems, which could lead to blindness, but they've felt that, that they'll try and manage it at home. But, definitely the first few weeks when the coronavirus outbreak was, initially started, we saw a significant drop in people coming to A&E, and concerningly so, because even though coronavirus is around, it doesn't mean that people aren't suddenly not going to get things like heart attacks and strokes. And so we implore people that we do want to see you in A&E if you are very unwell. And it's the same for the GPs, and my other colleagues. We are concerns that people aren't maybe focusing on some of their other health needs. And as I said, just because coronavirus is here, other health problems don't go away. So please, if you do feel very unwell and need to come to hospital, we're there 24 hours a day and ready to see you.
Indeed. Now, sadly, the hothouse conditions, I suppose you could term it, of lockdown have been linked to an increase in domestic abuse. Now, those at risk can dial 999. If it's not safe to speak, press 55 on the keypad when prompted and stay connected. The operator will know that you need help but you're unable to talk. Now, a service in London dedicated to helping women affected by abuse is Solace. Their website is www.solacewomens'aid.org. Now, Ashleen, the importance of people reaching out if they feel threatened is vital.
100%, Jerry. And this is actually something that has really been playing on my mind the last few weeks. And my colleagues, we've been talking about it at work, that we know that victims of abuse in this lockdown time, sadly, are going to be at an even higher risk than they normally are. Children who live in unsafe homes, who now don't have schools to go to, or sort of ways and means to get out of the house, to be with other people, they're no longer there at the moment. And so these people are particularly at risk. And I really feel for anyone who is in that unsafe situation. And again, absolutely, if you don't feel safe at home, if things are getting really, really unpleasant, then please get help and call for help. And I'm glad you mentioned the website, Jerry. And we already know that the calls to the domestic abuse helplines have increased dramatically at the moment. And if you consider how unsafe people must be feeling to do that, even in lockdown, that they're still making these calls. I just, if you know of anyone who could be at risk, just check on them. They're definitely in our thoughts. And we know already we've had some very tragic cases brought to not only our A&E but some of the other A&Es in the area of the signs of both domestic violence and crime. And we're very aware that this is ongoing and it's a significant issue at the moment. So please do get help if you need it.
Indeed. Now, Ashleen, in the midst of all the worrying times, we are cheered by displays of solidarity for care and health workers. Many businesses have stepped up to the plate. Now, you were sponsored in your Rose Journey by Finbar Hollian of the Clather-Ring pub in Hendon. Finbar does a great deal of charitable work for causes. It's no surprise then that the Taste of the Clather-Ring have joined forces with Sean and Bobby Burke of the Galway Association, who are sponsoring food deliveries for two amazing hospitals, Charing Cross and Northwick Park, to support NHS staff.
Where do I start about Finbar and the Clather-Ring? That man has a very special place in my heart, and like you said, he was my sponsor when I was the 2015 London Rose of Tralee, and we've just had a fantastic friendship since then, and the things he has done for charity is just amazing. And not only that, the food is always amazing in the Clather-Ring. So I was delighted when I saw that they were doing deliveries. And you can actually order it on Uber Eats now as well, which is even better news. But we were very, very grateful, myself and my sister Orla, who is an intensive care nurse. Finbar has very, very generously donated delicious meals to both my A&E department and Orla's work, and my colleagues and I were just overwhelmed with the generosity. And he's just a phenomenal man who organised this London to Ballahadreen bike ride that we took part in, which raised £250,000 for motor neuron disease and the Alzheimer's Society. And it's just, I have to say a massive thanks to Finbar. He's always been an incredible support to both myself and Orla and to the wider Irish community here in London. And like you said, there's just a lot of businesses that are really stepping up to the plate now. And I know London Irish Rugby team have been supporting by providing lots of meals, and many, many other businesses. We've been overwhelmed with the generosity of people, and even the simple things, just like messages of support and the weekly clap. You have no idea how much that lifts our spirits in the NHS and all the frontline workers, because it is difficult, to keep going, and these efforts by the community are just incredible, and really mean so much to my colleagues and I. Just thank you to everyone who's been showing their support.
Excellent. Now, you've just mentioned about your sister Orla and her partner Sophie, who've been played a valuable role for you, as in we're all in this together at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to give probably the biggest shout out to my sister Orla and her partner Sophie McKay. They are two of the most incredible people I know, and go above and beyond the call of duty. So Orla is an intensive care nurse in her background. She actually became a lecturer for Middlesex University in the last year, but she has gone back to working on the front line in intensive care at Whittington because of the significant demand and the overwhelming increase of patients. And she's taken on a lot more shifts than she probably, should be for her own, for her own rest and recovery. But her heart is absolutely in the right place, and she really is incredible. And she's had some really tough shifts. So, at times there's been such an influx of patients that she's been looking after 6 patients when she's just one nurse. And normally in intensive care, before COVID or in a normal intensive care situation, it should be 1 nurse to 1 patient ratio, sometimes 1 to 2. But it has been so stretched recently that she's had to look after 6 patients, which is incredibly stressful and demanding. But she has had help from some very supportive helpers who are not intensive care trained at all. They're members of the healthcare service, or even the community services, who have been coming in and helping them in intensive care units and on the medical wards, and they deserve absolutely massive shout out because they've never worked in these situations before, and they are, it's really daunting going into intensive care if you've never been there before. So I know Orla has been so appreciative of all the help from these helpers. And Orla's partner Sophie, who is actually a paediatric nurse by background, has also been stepping up by working in adult intensive care, looking after coronavirus patients. And that has been challenging in itself, but they have just, gone head in straight in and no questions asked, and just really, really gone above and beyond. So they're amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, where possible, we're all trying to stay home and safe to protect the NHS and save lives. Well, we look forward to coming out the other side. You have a full life with a love of traditional music and sport. It seems a long time ago, but in September of last year, 2019, you joined a large team of cyclists and crew who raised a cool £500,000 for the Irish Motor Neuron Disease Association and the Alzheimer's Society of the UK. Now, Finbar Nuala and the team of the Claddagh got an incredible team of organisers and participants behind them. This legacy was a tribute to Finbar's late brother-in-law, Frank Kelly, and good friend Joe Lynch. Aisling, you described the cycle ride as unforgettable.
Yes, absolutely, Jerry. It's unforgettable in so many ways. And yeah, what a phenomenal effort by Finbar Nuala and all of the Claddagh team who organised that, but also every single cyclist that volunteered to join that team. It started off, as Finbar always says, maybe 6 cyclists. Then there was 32 of us, I think, 31 of us that cycled from London to Ballahadreen, and another 15 that joined in Dublin to join us. It was unforgettable because of, again, the support we got from people, the donations, the memories and the friendships we've created from that cycle. And obviously the physical memories of cycling 600 kilometres. It took me about 2 months to be able to get back up onto the bicycle, but I finally braced it and I'm cycling to work again now. But it did take some time. But honestly, one of the best adventures of my life. And myself and my sister volunteered as the medical team. But we decided, look, if we're going along, we're actually going to do the bike ride as well. And thank God there was no major injuries or illnesses. There was a couple of minor injuries and illnesses, but everyone crossed that finish line safely, and that was the most important thing. It was absolutely one of the best decisions I ever made, was to do that bike ride with Finbar and the team.
Excellent. Now, we know you've lived life to the max, travelling to Australia and Zambia amongst other places. Now, you back numerous charitable causes, and your solidarity with your Rose's family, as we recently heard from Rose's Kiva Gallagher and Laura Kennedy, is a fantastic bond. Now, the 220 Rose of Tralee Festival has been cancelled. No doubt you'll agree with the organisers that it was the responsible decision.
Absolutely. A very difficult decision, and it's the first time they've had to do this since the start of the Rose of Tralee. But 100% it was necessary, and it's the safest thing to do. We have to think of the greater good. We know that the things that the Rose of Tralee brings to families and friends and the communities all across the world, it's absolutely, it's a phenomenal experience, but we have to make sure it's safe, and people's health and safety is absolutely the number one priority at the moment. And it just means that we have an even better festival to look forward to next year, because we will be so delighted and appreciative, even more so than before, of being able to come together. And it is a difficult decision, but look, this is the way of the world at the moment, and as I said, it's just something to look forward to next year, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, indeed. Now, our gratitude goes to you and your colleagues for all that you're doing. Now, you're separated from friends and family. You've chosen a beautiful song to dedicate to them, which I have coming up. Meanwhile, please take this opportunity to say a few hellos to those who are listening in.
Oh, I'd love to, Jerry. Thank you so much. I definitely want to say hello to my mum and dad, Angela and Tom in Galway. Sadly, my mum actually got diagnosed with coronavirus in the last few days, so she's not feeling 100% at the moment, but she's at home and safe, and she will get through this. She's a fighter, but I just want to give them a big shout out. And I'd like to say hello to Louise and Kieran, my sister and her husband in Longford, and the Herty family in Cullyhanna and Newry. That's my boyfriend's family. And I want to say a big shout out, of course, to the extensive Rose of Tralee family. They're all over the world. And they have been, a lot of my friends through Rose of Tralee have been incredibly supportive of me and my healthcare colleagues during this time. And so I just want to say, to everyone, stay safe and stay sane, as I say, because it is a difficult time, but keep up supporting everyone, and we will get through this. And thanks to everyone for all your support.
Indeed, Aisling, it's been enlightening and a real pleasure speaking to you. Thanks on behalf of us all to you and all your colleagues for the essential work you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jerry. And we will get through this.
Indeed. Aisling, lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. Take care. Bye-bye.
Walking all a day near tall towers where falcons build their nests. Silver winged they fly. They know the call of freedom in their breasts. Saw black hair against the sky with twisted rocks that run down to the sea. Living on your western shore, saw summer sunsets, asked for more. I stood by your Atlantic sea, sang a song for Ireland. Talking all the day with true friends who try to make you stay. side.